Hi there, I'm Clifford Bates, and welcome once again to our next session of reading Machiavelli's Discourses. As you can tell, my little cough is still here, so please forgive it. We got my computer back. This is the old screen. We'll see what I might try with the new camera. We'll see how it works. We're having some technical issues still, just getting used to the things that I'm reprogramming. So it's like this. So please hang in on here. Today we're continuing with the first book of the Discourses, and today we're looking at chapter 30. And we'll just go right to it. Okay, the title is which modes a prince or a republic should use so as to avoid the vice of ingratitude, and which a captain or a citizen should use so as not to be crushed by it. So therefore, this is the question. The question is, what kind of approaches should a prince or a republic use to avoid the vice of being ungrateful? Okay, and which a captain or a citizen who is going to be, who's going to be doing something for as a official or a leader, will be crushed by it, as not to be crushed by it, right? So let's begin the text. So as to avoid the necessity either of having to live with suspicion or being ungrateful, a prince should go personally on expeditions, as the Roman emperors did in the beginning, as the Turk does in our own time, and as those who are virtuous have done and do. So, okay, in other words, if you're going to be a prince, if you want to avoid being, remember the two reasons for the problems with officials that Prince has about, people, captains, doing great things, is suspicion of their actions and that they will act. In other words, a suspicion that their action will cause them challenge their authority, or the second thing is that ungrateful. In other words, ungrateful. In other words, their greed. Their greed about the greed of the fame or something will lead them to not like them, or suspicion that they have it. Right. The first was a vice. The second is not a vice, and but it's still problematic. Suspicion, but it's more understandable in that sense, he says. Now he says the way you can avoid this question of being ungrateful, being suspicious, or being ungrateful, is to go on the expedition, as the Roman Emperor did, the early Roman emperors did, and then the leader of the Turk did, right, in his times, and as the virtuous have done and have done. For if they win, the glory and the acquisition are all theirs. And when they are not present, since the glory is someone else's, it does not appear to them that they can make use of the acquisition unless they eliminate in someone else the glory that they had not known how to gain for themselves. So that's the problem, right? That's if they're not there, they're not present. The glory of this achievement is that they have a problem. How this is not their glory, the other person's glory, and therefore this is a problem. How to eliminate, in other words, make use of the acquisition unless they can eliminate in someone else the glory, okay, that they did not gain. They become ungrateful and unjust, and without doubt their loss is greater than the gain. In other words, okay, then if they're not present and someone gets it, well, the greatness of the gain leads them, but the glory of the gain, right, leads them to become jealous, okay, because they don't get the glory. The captain will get the glory, and that becomes a threat to the official, and that's the emperor, right? So a prince in that sense. So the prince, well, since they can't get the glory, they turn against, and he says they become unjust, right? They become unjust, and the danger here is they become ungrateful and unjust, right? And they take it away, And without a doubt, the loss of them becoming unjust is greater than the gain. But when through either negligence or lack of prudence they remain idly at home and send captains, I have no precept to give to them other than the one they know for themselves. In other words, he has no. If you're going to stay home lazy, and send officials to go do it, then he has no precept but the one they themselves know, right? But I do say that captain. But I do say to that captain, since I judge that he cannot avoid the bites of ingratitude, that he may do one or two things: either leave the army at once after the victory and put himself in the hands of his prince, guarding himself against every insolent or ambitious act, or that he, so that the latter, deprived of every suspicion, may have cause either to reward him or not to offend him, right? Or when this does not appear to him proper to do, he may spiritually take the contrary part, and hold to all those modes through which he believes that the acquisition may be his own and not the prince, making the soldiers and the subjects well disposed to him. In other words, he has two strategies. One, in other words, he has no. The thing is, the problem with Machiavelli says he has no advice maxim to give to a lazy prince, except the one that the prince himself knows. That is, he's going to have to either he's going to act unjustly, right? As he just said up there, the natural logical outcome of this is he will act unjustly. But to the captain, he says two things. One, after you achieve the victory, you then go to the prince and show that you have no ambition, no like this. I'm humble, it's yours. I did this wonderful, great deed for you, right? In other words, he cannot avoid the bites of ingratitude. He may do one or two things when he says he can put himself in the hands of the prince, guarding against every insolent or ambitious act, right? I just go to the prince and say, my dear prince, I submit, I've achieved this for you. I have no, you're so great, you're so humble, I'm in your hands, so the prince can either reward him or not harm him. They don't fear him in that sense, because he humbled himself. But this captain cannot do this, right? When he does not appear to proper to do this, he can spiritually take the other point, as that make the conquest his own. Making what? Because the soldiers are loyal to him, and the acquisition can be loyal to him. That the acquisition may be his own, and not the prince's. He may make, in other words, let's repeat this line here. He says, which he believes that the acquisition may be his own and not his prince's, making the soldiers and the subjects well disposed to him, right? The people of the new territory. He may make new friendships with neighbors, seize fortresses with his men, corrupt the princes the prince of his armies, corrupt the princes of his army, and secure himself against those he cannot corrupt. And through these modes seek to punish his lord for the ingratitude that he would have used against him. Okay. In other words, two modes. Either you humble yourself to the guy and throw it at vicious, or you take what you have, make that there, and get greater support. The neighboring forces, by either corrupt them, or overpower them, and then punish your lord. Right? There are no other ways. But, as was said above, men do not know how to be altogether bad or altogether good, right? All the way back. That wonderful line all the way a couple chapters ago. Men don't know, they always want the third way. He's saying, no, there's only two ways you can go. You can either go there, throw yourself on the mercy of your thing, and show that you're humble and you don't have this, or you know the prince is going to go after you. You have the loyalty of the things, the people you just conquered has loyalty to you. They feel loyalty to you because you've done it well. In that sense, you have not harmed them, in any sense of the thing. And then you turn them against your prince. And then you go to other people who might dislike him and say, in other words, you turn on your prince. And in other words, you punish the Lord for the ingratitude that he would have used to you, the captain, right? There's no other way than these two. And the problem is that people don't know how to be altogether bad or altogether good. It always happens that they do not wish to leave the army at once after victory, that they are unable to behave modestly, that they do not know how to use violent measures that have something honorable in them. In other words, here's some of the things people have, the mistake. They don't want to wish the army, leave the army once they are victors. They don't want to go there, They're unable to behave modestly. And they don't know how to use violent measures that have sometimes have something honorable in them. What is it? There's something violent that has honorable in them. That's interesting. So, remaining ambiguous, they are crushed between their delay and the ambiguity. In other words, that because they're unable to they seek the modus way, they've not humble themselves. Okay, we had a weird interruption. Sorry about that. We have an interruption for my wife coming into the room. Oh no! She goes, "Hi there, honey." You heard in the background. Okay, this third way. Everyone does the third way. They don't know how to do it, and they're crushed by this, right? So therefore, the first example is the prince. And okay, remember how the prince and how a republic can do this, and how they can avoid ingratitude, and how the captain, how they respond. So the first example is the prince. What to do? They can either go, and what happens is that they don't want to go wholly bad or wholly things. Remember, he has two options. Either they humble themselves, submit themselves to their prince. They humble themselves and just make themselves totally submitted under the prince, saying, "Here, I captured the great city. Don't kill me, my great prince. I love you. I love you. I did this for you. I have nothing. I only serve you." And therefore, the prince will say, "My nice pet, you're a good boy. You're my good boy." Or he says, "I don't harm you." Okay, I either reward you. He's going to reward him, or at least not harm him, right? But but that requires you to kind of humiliate yourself in front of everyone's eyes. So the glory is not, in other words, it strips you. You have to strip yourself of the glory. Now, this is, and most people will, in other words, the middle course. Well, I don't want to submit. I'm not gonna go take. In other words, the choice is either you have to completely humiliate yourself and humble yourself to the prince, or you have to kill the prince. You have to basically take the victory and make it yours, and then get allies and go whop your prince. Because otherwise he'll be ungrateful. There's only those two modes, no other mode. But the problem is everyone wants to take this third mode, and therefore, because they take a third mode, they get crushed. All right, they're crushed between their delay and the ambiguity. Now, in the second section, the second paragraph, or the part of there, he goes, "To a republic wishing to avoid this vice of ungrateful, one cannot give the same remedy as to the prince. That is, go and do not send someone else in his expedition, since it is under a necessity to send one of its citizens," right? So therefore, in other words, the solution for the prince from doing this is go there yourself, right? That's you can't, but a republic cannot, the sovereign, all the people cannot go there. So you send a citizen. That is to go and not send someone else, but since it is under a necessity to send one of its citizens. It is fitting, therefore, that I propose a remedy that it follows the same mode that the Roman Republic followed, so as so as to be less ungrateful than the other cities in that sense, right? This rose from the mode of its government. For since the whole city, both the nobles and the ignobles, was put to work in war, so many virtuous men emerged in every age, decorated from various victories, that the people did not have cause to fear any one of them, since they were very many and guarded one another, right? So, in other words, the Romans, what they did was they rewarded the people who achieved things, but they would put the consuls, right? They elect the consul for 1 year. But they didn't have just only a handful of these people who were capable. They had a lot of people who were capable. And they would move up people who, because both the notables and the ignobles, in other words, the nobles and the people who are not nobles, were required to go fight in war. And because of this, there was this loyalty that everyone did it. And because even the nobles had to fight, this meant there was, in other words, a great number of capable people. Sometimes some very capable from the ignobles came up and were made in nobles, right? That's one of the things that happened in the Roman model. So the Roman model, there was a wide capable. Now the thing about this was, because there were so many, right, the people did not have cause to fear any one of them. Why? Because these guys, the ones who were capable, the ones who were victorious and had virtue, had a claim. There are so many different ones that they checked each other. This is kind of the faction checking faction argument. In fact, much of what we understand from Montesquieu's argument about division of powers and faction checking faction from Madison arises out of the Roman approach of history from Livy. Okay, this is what you have to understand. The republic, the idea of the republic was each of the parts checked. The genius of the Roman Republic in Machiavelli's notion is that the various parts of the republic checked each other. Yes, there was the ambition. Their ambition moved them forward. But another thing, there was this kind of checking of each other, that they checked each other. And what made this possible is that the people, in other words, the people didn't have to fear anything. Because why? Fear from any one of them, since they were very many and guarded against each other. They kept themselves upright. They kept themselves so upright and so hesitant to cast a shadow of any ambition or to cause or give cause to the people to offend them for being ambitious, that when one came to the dictatorship, he carried away from it the greater glory the sooner he laid it down. In other words, the greater glory was giving up power. This is the myth of this is the point of Cincinnatus, the Cincinnatus story. When Cincinnatus was given the dictatorship, when he got the dictatorship, he was stuck on his farm. The crisis happened. The Senate authorized him emergency to dictator. They went to tell him that he was appointed dictator by the Senate. He was a senatorial class, but he was not successful. He's poor. He was in the middle of farming with his work clothes, with an oxen, when he was sworn in as dictator. He gets dressed up, does his thing, solves the city, and then after he resolves the problem, he does what? He gives up power. The glory of here is that in other words, and that's the problem of a Caesar in that sense. The problem in Machiavelli, in this view, is that the situation was so bad that Caesar could not give up. In other words, there was no means by which Caesar could give up power and get glory. The only thing he would get would be death. Okay, so there was no option for Caesar. In other words, the late Republic was so corrupt that there was not a means to get glory in that sense. But the early Republic, the check was there because by giving up the absolute power, he did not. In other words, he saw that there was greater glory in that than seizing power. Right? There was an infamy of seizing power. Where for someone like Caesar at the time of Caesar, the infamy of seizing power was less costly, was seen less odious and less costly than the of what would happen if the impossibility of gaining glory or honor and respect by giving up power. Okay. Soon as he laid it down, and since no mode in such since modes such as these could not generate suspicion, they did not generate ingratitude. In other words, that by him doing that, achieving power, they would be great. In other words, because there was no suspicion, and because of that, they did not see. The suspicion generates the ingratitude in republics. So a republic that does not wish to have cause to be ungrateful should govern itself as did Rome. And a citizen who wishes to avoid its bites should observe the limits observed by Roman citizens, at least in the early republic, in the early days. This is why, remember, the commentary, remember, Livy's, the Discourses is supposed to be really focused on the original 10 decades of Livy's account of the Romans, right? The first 10 books of the Roman Republic, which is the early republic, okay? It's before the rise of Caesar. But he will bring in the other people and bring in modern things to highlight different aspects of it. But he says that the republic should follow the example of Rome, particularly the early Rome. Okay, that's it. If you have any comments or questions, please put them in the video, and I will respond to them when I see them. If you've liked the video, hit the like button. I know the videos is we have to probably change videos, camera. Well, I have to go figure the plugs and my old. I have to replug everything. I just wanted to see if the camera works, and we're experimenting whether the new computer has fixed the problem of uploads. So like it, hit the like button. Please hit the like button if you liked it. Share it far and wide. Share it in your social media. Share it with your friends. If you've not subscribed, please subscribe. Encourage your friends to come subscribe. All of these things help the algorithm that advances so that people who search for things will come to see it. If you didn't like it, you can always thumbs down, but say why, what you didn't like about it, and what was wrong, or correct us if you think we made a mistake, or you have a different take on this. Because this way people can learn. This is the purpose of what I'm doing this for. You want to follow me on social media, the links are below. If you want to know more about me as an academic and a scholar and check out my research, you can check out the academic media links below those. And if you want to help me to do what I do, because, we spend a lot of money fixing computers, you can do so through Patreon or Subscribestar, or through buying one of my books listed below, either through your local bookstore or through an online distributor like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or Libris, or whatever. Or you can do it through the publisher directly. Well, that's it. We'll see you time, and we'll look at chapter 31 next. Bye-bye.